about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So 5 years ago, when COVID was causing lockdowns and there was online learning and all that was going on, I had predicted that this might be the start of the end of the Ivy League era, where you got the rich schools that cost tens of thousands of dollars per semester, and you could only get in if you were the tippity top high grades or if you were the daughter or son of somebody. And that if you had a degree from that institution, it was like, ooh la la. And then everybody else was, all right, well, you're a state school if you're not Ivy League. And when COVID hit, I'm like, this is changing. Because people are not walking along the great, beautiful, historic halls of Harvard or Yale. They're sitting at home, right, in their apartment doing their schooling, because they're not allowed to travel. They're not allowed to be on site. And at some point, somebody's like, is this really, really worth the money? Is an online degree from Harvard still holding its weight? And then we started to see that there were a lot of changes in terms of the academic prowess needed and the academic levels needed. And then SAT and ACT were required, which showed proficiency in things. Now, I see how people think it's outdated. I mean, I got a 1450 on my SAT. I could have gone to Ivy League. I couldn't afford to go to Ivy League. And I am so glad I went to UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Best university ever. I loved it. Not to mention, I was there during the Final Four. By the way, congratulations, Florida Gators. Nice job, Houston. Wow, what a game. So fantastic Final Four. We had Duke, Auburn, this last weekend. But well done, Florida Gators. Rooting for you, and I won some money, so I'm happy about that. But I went to UNLV when UNLV was in the Final Four and won the national championships. UNLV was fantastic, not to mention what I was able to learn. I really credit a lot of my scientific background with what I did there. Great professors, great people, loved it. And I didn't go to Ivy League. I did do my last year of medical school at UCLA because I went to UNR School of Medicine. Then I did my last year of all my electives, my head and neck, my dermatology, all my but I had more hands-on in the University of Nevada system. So Ivy League, Schmivy League, I think state schools can give you just as good, if not better, in education. Well, we're being told now that in Harvard, they had to offer a class at Harvard, a remedial math course. They are trying to rectify a lack of foundational skills believed to be exacerbated by the COVID pandemic. Now, according to Ricky Schlott, a New York Post opinion columnist, said without any SAT or ACT scores on their applications, kids without basic math skills were slipping through the cracks. Now, Schlott likes the SAT. They say they're key tools to determine college and career success. Well, that depends. They're not wrong. It depends on what the college wants. If the college wants you to go through math and then get through calculus and all that, absolutely. But if the college is teaching you, other things like, well, become an activist or then they don't care about the math. So what are these colleges doing? I understand. You say you're from Harvard or Princeton or Yale. Wowee. But look at how they're overpriced and underperforming. Not to mention, now they're getting a different reputation. If you're a Jewish student, you don't feel safe on a lot of these universities. You just want to go to class without somebody, if you're trying to support the hostages that are being raped, attacked, beheaded, dying in Gaza, you feel you're scared. Not to mention, even if you aren't, voicing your hope that hostages come home and are safe. If you're Jewish, there, or you want to go to a Jewish class, or let's say there's going to be a Seder on campus. You now have these protesters preventing you from doing what you want. That's not what schools are supposed to do, not in America. And so these Ivy Leagues are really underperforming. If you're not protecting and preserving the safety of your students, I understand people want to do peaceful assembly. And honestly, the Palestinians in Gaza need to be out of Hamas rule. So anybody saying, let's free Palestine from Hamas, I'm in agreement with, because Hamas has been running them. Israel left in 2006. So but that's not what they're doing. They're going after, they're blocking, and it's being very caustic. Some of the violent. Didn't somebody in California die last year because a Jewish man was at a assembly at a protest and it got violent? Come on, people. So, as far as I'm concerned, if you now say you go to Harvard, I have no idea if that means you needed remedial math. If that means, you didn't get to go to class because you weren't allowed to, you were Jewish and protesters wouldn't let you, or you were too busy protesting. I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, in fact, it's going to actually start to hurt people. And so this might be kind of one of the second phases of the fall of Ivy League. There's medical schools that are not Ivy League charging $50,000, $60,000 a year. It's ridiculous. And, I think people are starting to look at this going, I don't need to spend this money. I don't need to pay this. So Trump stopping funding for those that allow discrimination and bias against students and not allowing students to feel like they're free to go to class. It's about time somebody does that. And by the way, why are we taxpayers supporting Ivy League schools? They have millions upon millions of dollars. Why are we giving billions of dollars to Ivy League schools? Why are we taxpayers helping our local schools more? 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hotshot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on X or Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So one of my listeners asked if we had any updates on that father who lost custody of his kids because the ex-wife mom wanted to transition them. And this was in California. I don't have any updates, but to kind of recap on that story, I believe this was in November, so a few months back, a California judge, this was according to the New York Post, in this year-long fight, this multiple years-long fight, where a Texas father was trying to stop his ex-wife from chemically castrating his son. His name is Jeff Younger. He's 59 years old. He announced, this was, I believe, in November, that he lost all parental rights over his twin sons after a Los Angeles Superior Court judge, Mark Juhas, granted his estranged pediatrician ex-wife, Ann George Gulas, the authority to, quote, castrate his 12-year-old son, James. I think this had started when he was 6. And when he had not wanted his 6-year-old, I think his boys are twins, when he had not wanted his 6-year-old to undergo gender transitioning, things got ugly. And now, as of November, he lost custody. He said, I lost all parental rights to my sons. Goodbye, boys. Perhaps we will meet when you are adults. California Judge Juhas gave my ex-wife authority to castrate my son, James. Now, this was chemical castration. They use that term when it's not necessarily surgically removing the penis, but using puberty-blocking drugs to stop sex hormone production and the some of the functions of a pubertal and then soon to be adult male genitalia. They call it chemical castration. Now, the Department of Health and Human Services says this practice is reversible. We still don't know about the long-term effects. We don't know what the fertility is like. We also don't know, going through puberty over a multiple-year process is difficult. Imagine stopping the puberty blockers and going through it quickly. Not to mention the bone density and your height. What happens when you don't get to grow tall anymore because you're reversing it at the age of 20 once your bone growth has leveled off. So it's, and in Europe, in the UK, they banned it in the pediatric population. So there's science and doctors saying, no, no, no. Yet in America, you lose your kids if you're trying to protect them. So this legal battle, it made headlines back in 2018. And apparently the mom sought a restraining order against her ex-husband, Younger. And she tried to block him from entering the twins' school or telling other parents, students that the gender of Luna is different than a girl named Luna, because I guess that was the new gender of the child. But James was 6 years old at the time. Now, she said, the mom had said that he identified as female, wanted to wear dresses, and wanted to be called Luna. But the father said the son only did that for the mom, to keep her from, getting upset. When he was around the dad, he was living like a boy. And that the gender confusion at age 6 was because of the mom. Now, the Texas courts initially granted both parents joint custody in 2019, but she eventually won sole custody of their children in 2021, with the caveat that she must seek Younger's consent for medical procedures related to James' gender dysphoria. But that changed in 2022 when George Gulas, the mom, relocated with James and Jude, the twin boys, to California to take advantage of the state's trans sanctuary law that allows parents to pursue gender-affirming care for their transgender child without legal interference from other states. So she transplanted herself and the boys to California so that she could have the power to transition them. The dad petitioned the Texas Supreme Court to have his sons returned to Texas before California's law went into effect, but the court denied it. Younger's case, the father, has progressed. And now, people are looking at this going, so he can't have access to his kids? And so, listen, I came from a family where, wow, it was easier to agree with your mom and dad than to buck it. Now, I've raised my boys differently. Okay. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to see what their concerns are so I could have an effective argument and I could effectively explain why some of their thinking, let's say it has to do with vaping, or let's say it has to do with, not studying or whatever. And I'm like, tell me teach me. Okay. Because school is different for you guys than it was for me. Tell me why, you're playing video games, right? When you have a final tomorrow. Is it that you're needing a break? Is it that you're, just teach me, rather than just yelling, no video games. What is it? Is it that you're getting burned out and you're noticing you're just not learning anymore? You need to take a break. Then maybe let's take a break, not on a screen with video games. Let's take a break by walking the dog or, whatever. So, but I grew up with parents where if you even dissented, you're smacked in the face, almost lost a tooth. And so I don't know who this mom is and I don't know who this dad is. But what I do know is the kids were 6 years old at the time, and now they're 12. And they are in a very vulnerable state and age for manipulation. And when you have one parent who says, look, you're a girl, and another parent says you're a boy, there's got to be somebody intervening and helping these kids out. And instead, the courts decided to rip away one of the parents. Now, what's so hypocritical about all this is, let's say you really have a gender dysphoric child. You have a child that wakes up, flat chest, penis, and they're looking at their body going, I'm in the wrong body. I need to claw out of this body and get into another body. That child is struggling and needs all the support they can. Why the hell? Why on God's great earth would you rip a parent away from that child? If you're a judge and you are validating the fact that this child has true gender dysphoria, then you want all hands on deck. You want that child to have all the support possible. You're going to take their father away? Well, because he's going to hurt the child. He's going to confuse the child. How is he confusing? The child can look in the mirror and see what their biological sex is. Well, he won't let them transition. If the child wants to transition, they could do it as an adult. Now, I know that, for years they're like, well, we got to do it before they hit puberty. How does a child know what they want before puberty? If you told me, and look, I wanted to be a boy when I was a little girl, not because I had gender dysphoria. It just, I didn't like my mom. I liked my dad more. I wanted to pee standing up, and I wanted to run as fast as the boys. And when I found out I was going to be a girl, and then my sister said I'm going to have boobies that slow me down when I run, and I was going to be bleeding every month, I was like, oh, hell no. Now, I was 3 years old at the time. And then I came to grip with it. Well, I'm a woman. This is what God made me, and I'm going to make it work. And boy, thank God I'm a woman. Found my husband, married him, have 2 beautiful children. But yeah, if you ask any prepubertal girl, would you like to not have a period or breasts that hinder you from getting stuff done or being a victim of rape and assault? I think the average girl would say, sign me up. If you go to a boy saying, look, you're getting beat up at school, you're not getting to join sports, you're not, what would you like to have a life easier? Yeah, how does a child comprehend what that's going to mean later in adult life? And when we hear some of these detransitioners saying, I wish I had my breasts, I want to breastfeed, or I can't have children now. If you asked me when I was 3, 6, 12, how many babies I wanted, I'd be like, you got to be out of your flipping mind. I don't want any kids. Well, boy, did that change in my 20s. So all I'm saying is if you really believe a child has gender dysphoria, true gender dysphoria, don't rip any parent away from them. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. 1-877-DOC-DALI. I got to tell you, these allergies, they stink. All right, we've talked about allergy, but we'll talk about them again. Although this is a topic that I don't think we've spoken about, and I've gotten some questions over the years. Do you get jealous of your children? Now, I know some of you are like, oh, I would never would. I love my children. My children are awesome. All right, I've picked up on some jealousy. When I hear parents talk about their kids going, he's got a full head of hair. Look at all that hair. Meanwhile, here's dad going, I lost my hair. If I could run like he did, look at their metabolism. Look at their salary. They're traveling. The Gen Zs and millennials are doing things different than Gen X's and baby boomers. And I am picking up, and don't feel bad. Okay, I'll talk about when it's bad and when it's normal. But I'm picking up on parents going, well, gosh, I didn't get to go to Hawaii in my 20s. I didn't get to do, what the heck is going on? So after COVID hit and Hawaii was trying to reopen, there were a lot of young kids who found that they could go to Hawaii for $200. And they did. I was like, good for them. So I never had that opportunity at their age. I don't care. They had to struggle with COVID. Good for you guys. But yeah, you might be seeing that your kids are having opportunities to travel. They have ways where they could do miles. And they could use these miles to get deals. They also know how to manipulate the internet and figure out where they could get cheaper prices and, know how to, do things that you couldn't do. They will have better hair. They will. I mean, I have thick hair. I have a lot of hair, but it's thinning from the way it used to be. My metabolism. I had a 6-pack. I had a flat stomach. I don't now. I wouldn't be jealous of the kids. See, I'm not jealous of the kids. I feel bad for kids these days because they have struggles. They can't see their future like we can. But if you do at all feel jealous of your kids, don't start panicking. Don't try to suppress it or repress it and smack yourself in the face. Just stop for a second and go, what am I jealous about? What am I missing out on? Now, one root of jealousy that sometimes is innate in most relationships is the child comes into the life. You have a spouse. Let's say you're the man and the mom has the baby. And here you are, right? The love of her life. And the sun rises and sets with you. And all of a sudden now there's a baby. And it's all about the baby. And the love a mother has for her child is different than the love she has for you. She could love you and all that, but I have had guy friend after guy friend say, boy, did they feel neglected. All of a sudden, it's the baby, and now they're the second-class citizen. And it's all about the baby. And then they don't feel, and, boo-hoo, okay, she's trying to breastfeed, she's up all night, etc. But you start to notice that there's a bond that child has with mom. And so psychologically, the reason why you see a lot of dad-son fighting is because those boys get to have a different relationship with mommy than you do. Now, with girls, it's a little different. Moms get jealous of the girls. The girls are, she could do no wrong. She's daddy's little girl. Meanwhile, she and mom fight a lot. I'm stereotyping. This isn't, this is generalization. But a lot of girls fight with their moms, and it's all about daddy, daddy, daddy. Right? But with boys, they're there to protect their mom. They love their mom. They love their mama. And, meanwhile, you're alpha, and then these boys want to be alpha. And so there is going to be competition. So you need to make sure that you are not misconstruing jealousy with competition. There has to be competition in a family because that's how these kids get ready for the real world. When you look at sibling rivalry, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want the brothers or the brothers and sisters to fight. Well, they're the fighting the litter has amongst each other to get the attention or the milk or the food or the beak full of worms. The reason why there is that is because it's a safer ring for these kids to fight it out before they go out into the real world. Hopefully it's not a Cain and Abel situation, but technically your brothers and sisters aren't supposed to kill you. So you could fight and be pushed to the farthest extent and get your training before you go out into the real world. And so, one, don't mix up competition with jealousy. And if you are jealous, what is it? Well, I don't have that speed anymore. I don't have those muscles. I don't have the hair. I don't have those looks. Okay, well, there's jealousy and then there's realism. I mean, I knew that if I had a daughter, she would, because of the way I looked at school, she would probably be much better looking. Fine, I want her to be better. I want her. So one thing you can do is it's very natural for you to start having that sort of feeling like, oh, okay, God, they have it so lucky. They have, you want that for your kids. You want your kids to do better than you. And so one thing you could do is whenever you do start to just transiently feel a little bit of that, say, hey, did I do my job? What was my job as a parent? Well, my job as a parent was to make sure my kids didn't starve. Make sure my kids didn't have to struggle like I had to. My kids didn't have to try to feed themselves on $6 a week. My kids were able to, and if you could make a world and make sure that world is better for the kids and they're safer and they're thriving, then you did your job. I had a parent saying, gosh, why couldn't marijuana have been legal when I was growing up? Okay, don't be jealous of your kid for having access to marijuana. Trust me, it's a whole nother issue, what marijuana could do. Although there's a study now talking about marijuana and autism and curbing some of those side effects. We need to be careful. Let the doctors study it. Don't you study it. But, sometimes what you think is an advantage could be a disadvantage and vice versa. So just look at those feelings and talk to other parents about it or talk to other people about it or talk to family members about it because you don't want to be jealous and mental illness could manifest in jealousy and then wanting your children to fail. And I've seen that. I mean, I've seen that in families where they're jealous of the kids or jealous of the grandkids. And you're like, what the hell is wrong with you? And then you're fearful that sort of jealousy could exist. And it's like a soap opera. But I'm telling you right now, if every now and then you're like, well, darn, I would have liked to, have gotten that or, been able to date Jimmy Garoppolo or whatever, that's natural. You're not supposed to covet thy neighbor. You're not supposed to covet thy family member. But the thoughts are going to come, and just re-identify what is it. And a lot of times your jealousy is because you're not fulfilled. You spent your whole life making a life for them. Well, now's your time. And I don't care if you're 40 or 50 or 60. If you wanted to travel, if you wanted to do a career, you could do it. Nowadays, you don't have to be 20 to start a career. You could start. I'm seeing like middle-aged people go to medical school, people becoming singers, influencers, broadcasters, authors. So if at all you're finding yourself more, regretting, or because that's another part of it. Is it regret? Is it midlife crisis? Just stop and, and one, be happy for them. It shows you did your job, making them a better life. Two, and I'll tell my kids when I'm envious. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to do that? Oh man, sick. That's sick. I'm jealous. Very cool. I mean, that's okay. It happens. But evaluate if there's things you need to do so you don't have to feel left out. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Don't go away.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So we have some breaking news. Many of you heard that there was a nightclub that collapsed in the Dominican Republic. We are being told one of the victims is Major League Baseball star Octavio Dotel. This collapse has killed at least 28 people. And this happened after a nightclub ceiling fell in the Dominican Republic. Dotel, 51 years old, is among, now we're being told, 27 other people who died following the collapse of the Jet Set Club in Santo Domingo that happened early this morning at 12:44 a.m. local time. Now, earlier they had said, according to Daily Mail, that he was rescued from the rubble. Now we're being told no. He arrived at the hospital with no vital signs and declared dead. So he was a victim, we are being told, of the roof collapse at the Jet Set nightclub in Santo Domingo de Hotel. The 2011 World Series champion, they had said, was rescued from the rubble, taken to the Armed Forces Central Hospital, sadly arrived without vital signs. 27 people dead, dozens injured. Not sure why the building collapsed. We're waiting on more information. It is just heartbreaking to think and see something like that happen. Hopefully there's no more victims. And, I when you see things like this, you just wonder, building codes, water damage, what happened? And, we're so trusting. I've been in the Dominican Republic. I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful island, but it's unfortunately, if they don't have the same sort of specifications and quality assurance and inspections, people are at risk. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. 15 states across the United States are under flood warnings right now after widespread rainfall overwhelmed rivers, streams, roads, hitting the Midwest and the South. And the National Weather Service, according to Newsweek, has issued urgent alerts telling drivers to avoid flooded areas with a reminder to turn around. Once you see the water rise, turn around. And they say the flooding comes after a powerful storm system swept across part of the country last week. 16 people died. At the time of this article, they say flood warnings are currently active across Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Michigan, Ohio, Tennessee, and Texas. They say these warnings are in part based on observations of river level rises, overflowing creeks, and urban drainage systems that are pushed beyond capacity. There's been road closures, hazardous driving conditions, and they believe that the flood-related effects could linger for several weeks. In some regions, runoff happened after 16 inches of rainfall that kept flowing into nearby rivers, creeks, streams. They say river flooding is expected to continue throughout this week in several states, including Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio. In Kentucky, there have been evacuation orders issued in multiple counties. Over 500 roads are closed across the state, according to Governor Andy Beshear. So, again, just crazy weather right now. We're going to be talking about the upcoming hurricane season later this month. They are expecting it to be above average, and we'll keep you posted. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. We have some more breaking news. The Keystone Pipeline, we are being told, is frantically shut down after a loud bang causes a leak. This is being reported by Daily Mail. At about 8:44 a.m. today, an employee reported hearing noise while working on one of the pipeline's pumping stations. This is according to Bill Seuss, program manager for the department's spill investigation team. The Keystone Pipeline spans about 1,200 miles from Canada into the U.S., and it had to be shut down in North Dakota after this loud bang happened. The employee then noticed oil surfacing in an agriculture field around 300 yards south of the station, proceeded to shut down the pipeline. The exact amount of oil spilled is not yet known, but it took about 2 minutes for the pipeline to be shut, and officials expected it to be closed until Wednesday. Nobody was affected by the spill. No structures, no people, they're being said. They say a nearby stream that only flows during part of the year was not impacted, but was blocked off and isolated as a precaution. So we're not really sure how much the flow was. It was a 30-inch pipeline when there was a leak. They think a fairly good volume of oil spilled, but they caught it very early. And they said we've had much, much bigger spills, so they don't think this is going to be as huge. So it's a $5.2 billion project. It was constructed in 2011. And they carry crude oil from Saskatchewan and Manitoba through North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri to refineries in Illinois and Oklahoma. They say South Bow, a liquid pipelines business that has managed the pipeline since 2024, told them that the affected area of the pipeline has been isolated. It occurred at milepost 171 near Fort Ransom. So, President Donald Trump wants to revive this pipeline. He wants to make us less energy dependent on other countries, more energy independent, drill, baby, drill. And Biden he had killed off the infrastructure project. I think it's like an $8 million price tag. And so, with something like this, it's okay. This isn't something where you shut off, restart. There's luckily, if it was minor, they're going to inspect it thoroughly, ensure that there's no other leaks or other sort of issues that can happen. Thank God nobody got hurt. But it's, just one of those things where, thank God, something bad could have been averted. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, we're kind of, moving through this bumpy time. And, some of you are really, really excited with all the changes. You couldn't stand, where America was going. And now, wow, border secure, more, hopefully, energy independence, financial independence from other countries. We have a president who's a badass that people are hopefully not going to mess with. On the other end, people are concerned because there's a lot of changes. And one of the big changes is happening to federal workers who are being laid off. Now, more federal workers are getting offers to retire early. And this offer to retire early allows them to still make full salary till the end of September, the end of the fiscal year. And that's a deal that actually looks pretty good for people who were already considering retirement. So if you had been with the government, a civilian employee, you've been working there for years, you needed to decide when is a good time to retire. And I think you still get all your full benefits. Being offered this chance early. It's something that we see in the private sector all the time. We had one of my in-laws. Every year, the company said, we're going to be doing layoffs. So whoever wants to retire, this is a package. This is a severance package. And every year they kept offering it. And then finally, when he was ready, he took the offer. And luckily, he wasn't laid off prior to that. So this isn't anything new. But interestingly, the Supreme Court has blocked an order requiring the Trump administration to reinstate thousands of federal workers. So when Trump wanted to minimize the size of the government and furlough or fire thousands upon thousands of employees, probational, part of U.S. aid, IRS, there were lawyers or judges that tried to stop it. Well, the justices acted in the administration's emergency appeal of a ruling by a federal judge in California saying that 16,000 probationary employees need to be reinstated while the lawsuit plays out. Now, from what I understand, they're on paid leave, so not necessarily fired. But when you do lay off, some of these layoffs you were cut off completely, even with your salary. So we're saying that the effect of the high court's order will keep employees in 6 federal agencies on paid leave. Justices Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson said they would have kept the judge's order in place. So we'll keep you posted on that. 1-877-DOC-DALI. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.